Hello. So I just want to tell you a bit about myself. My name is Danielle. I'm actually not from here. I'm from Las Vegas. So I was born there, and I was raised for a portion of my life there as well. So similarly, I grew up in a Christian home as well. It was divided. My mom was a Christian, and she brought us up from a young age in Christian ways, and we read the Bible, and my dad wasn't a Christian, and so it was a very divided home. But yeah, I grew up in a very good home. My story started, I was about 14 or 15 years old, and for a short period of time, we actually had stopped going to church in our lives, and these were very formative years for me. And so I was beginning to, sin is starting to pick up in your life at that age, basically. And so, yeah, we weren't going to church, and I wasn't hearing the gospel. And anyway, so one day we had decided to go back to church, and that's where my story started. I honestly didn't know what I was doing, but a very kind woman asked me if I wanted to pray, asking Jesus into my heart. And so I knew that Jesus was a good person. I knew that Jesus, it was a good thing what I was doing. So I was very open, and I prayed basically a sinner's prayer. And that's where God began to do something incredible in my heart. And I'm so grateful that even at just, even though I didn't know what I was doing, like, he was so open to me and just showed me his love and helped me along. Well, from that point, I began to play a bit of I guess you could call it a church game, and I didn't really have a revelation of my sin. And so I was going to church, and fast forward a few years, I actually had gotten in a bit of trouble, and it left me in a very desperate place in life. And so it was actually a season of my life. And so my parents were getting divorced, and just all these things were coming all at once. And yeah, I was very desperate, and I ended up in a very desperate place for the first time, where I was really crying out to God, asking him to make himself real to me. And he did. And I had a revelation that, you know, like, even though to the world, I seemed, like, to the world standards, I was a good person. I didn't party, I didn't drink or anything like that. I had good grades. Even to the world's standards, I seemed good, but before God, my righteousness, it wasn't righteous. It was like filthy rags before God. And I could never be good enough. And but the hope in that is that Jesus had died for us. And so Jesus, he stood before God for me, even though I'm not good enough, and none of us are good enough. He stood before God for me, and his blood covers all of my sins, all of just my wickedness, and he gave me that revelation, and I really just want to thank God for that. I want to give him all the praise and glory, because I don't know where I would be. Like, I've seen sin, and you make a quick spiral downhill, and it takes you to places you never thought you'd go. And so I really want to thank God from saving me from that. Like, I didn't have to go out into the world and try all these different things to realize that it's not the answer. The answer is in Jesus Christ. There's only one way, and that is through Jesus Christ. And I really want to encourage you, if you don't know him, he is the answer. And open up your heart to him the same way I did. I said a prayer, didn't completely understand what I was saying, but he honored that, and he helped me. And so, yeah.